I'ma be real, Saints Row the Third is an odd one for me. Initially released for the 7th generation of consoles and PC, it was the first Saints Row game I've ever owned alongside Saints Row 2 as a digital download. But the more I look back at the third, given what I know now about the Saints Row series, I don't think I could really consider this game a favorite anymore. Sure, it had one of the best creation suites in any game at the time, and sold the most out of all the Saints Row games, but it just had so many flaws that just couldn't be overlooked. Its tonal shifts, the reliance on absurdity, putting forth more fun than engagement by streamlining the formula, but it's been a good amount of time since I last played it, so let's find out together if Saints Row the Third is as flawed, or maybe, just maybe, is better than I remember. Our story begins with a Star Wars text crawl bringing us up to speed on the criminal misadventures of the Saints, and what they've been doing after the events of Saints Row 2. The Saints have basically gone from street gang to pop culture icons and have basically become a gigantic brand with TV deals, commercials, and an ass-tasting energy drink. And following that text crawl is an immediate showcasing of that with how the Saints have gone corporate, with Pierce starring in a Japanese commercial for Saints Flow, which then transitions into our opening mission. It's revealed that we're taking part in a bank heist alongside Shondi, Johnny Gat, and an actor by the name of Josh Burke, who's researching his role for the Saints movie. Honestly, Josh doesn't play the biggest role in Saints Row 3, but he does occasionally have some funny dialogue.
Found the way to open the vault.
Don't touch it!
Josh, are you trying to get us all jail time?
What? I don't want to be some dude's bitch.
As we advance with our heist, Bert gets up in a bank teller's face with a gun, and after getting scolded by Shondi, he turns around to an ambush, which then ensues chaos. The bank tellers, as well as an unknown gang of suits, rush in to take us down during the opening mission. And it's in this opening mission we're introduced to movement and gunplay.
You got a plan, or we just shooting all these motherfuckers? That is my plan. Works for me.
Though some might argue that Saints Row 2 has the better physics engine, Saints Row 3, 4, and Gat Outta Hell all have the slickest movement in the series to me. Everything is buttery smooth and shooting just feels just as good in my opinion. There's also returning features from the previous games in the series, such as grabbing an enemy to produce a human shield, and also being able to throw them or execute them. Grenades now take up what were formerly the food and drink slots on the D-pad, allowing for specific grenades to be chosen individually. I personally prefer the health items, since I rarely use anything but the traditional grenade, but I also don't hate the change because if you run out of one, there's most likely another that takes up its place. There's also the addition of dodging, that when sprinting you can jump out of the line of fire, which can be handy for sticky situations. Takedowns make a return, but unlike in Saints Row 2 where you repeatedly attack an enemy in melee to initiate a takedown, if you run towards an enemy and hit the trigger, you get various animations that take down an opponent. Beatdowns, however, are a completely new addition to melee and are performed with just a tap of the left trigger triggering a QTE as you take down an enemy. I personally never use these since I'm more of a running gun type, but these are still decent additions to have in my opinion. It especially would have worked great paired with a Fight Club activity in the third game, but sadly we never got it, which is going to be quite the running theme moving forward. But for now, let's get back to the story. As we make our way through the bank mowing down anyone and everyone who stands in our way, we make it to the vault to enact step 2 of the plan.
Josh, get over here.
Got the tools right here, Holmes. So, what's plan B? Huh? We drill it?
Fuck no. We blow it.
What? Not cool, man!
Time to get to work.
As we head upstairs to place the charges, we run into a photo op collectible, but we'll come back to that when we reach the open world portion of the review. As we set up the charges, Burke makes the dumb decision to press the alarm button, thinking it was to open the vault. As we fight back against waves of SWAT guys, we finally get the vault moving in the air. Saints Row III is well known for outrageous set pieces like this, and they really set the tone for what the game is moving forward. Less seriousness, more insanity.
That's right. Don't fuck with. No, 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 no!
Unfortunately for us though, our helicopter gets shot down and we land on a floor of the bank and get arrested.
Well, shit.
During our arrest, we reveal who's under the Johnny mask by making our own character. Now, during my playthrough, I didn't go in depth with customization, but I can still provide the rundown. Character customization was great in Saints Row 3. You can adjust your race, sex appeal. You could give yourself unique skin colors like platinum or gold. So if you're looking to make something human or out of this world, the options are near endless. Clothing, though downgraded in features due to the new engine, has a fair share of clothing articles, ranging from normal to high class to kinky to
who the fuck is this nigga, bro?
So basically, if you have enough patience and creativity, you can make some pretty solid fictional or non-fictional characters. Due to this game being relatively old and the company being dead, we no longer have My Steelport, which was a creation sharing tool similar to the reboot's character sharing function, which allows you to download other people's bosses. But regardless of features, even at the time, Volition was second to the WWE games for their customization suites. After we get captured and put behind bars, Gat asks,
"What happened?"
We got arrested.
No, to us. Burke's right. We traded our dicks in for pussies. Seriously. Movie deals, commercials. Saint's name used to mean something more than body spray and some ass-tasting energy drink.
Our brand's worth a shitload of money.
Is that what it's all about?
Now that's a very fair question to ask, because as previously mentioned, the Saints went from a street gang to a criminal organization to now a brand. Are the Saints even a gang anymore? Has fame made them soft? Well, we never really get proper... Well, we never really get proper answers to that because the story goes on a severe decline as the game progresses. And an example of that is coming right up. Two ladies walk alongside some goons and invite us onto their plane to discuss terms. We get to know them as Viola and Kiki, alongside our new main antagonist, Philippe Loren, leader of the Syndicate. And if, like me, you got swept up in that iconic Power trailer, and if, like me, you thought Philippe was going to be the main villain for this game, oh my sweet summer child.
You have any idea who you're fucking with here?
Of course. A remarkable likeness. These visions are Viola and Kiki, and I am Philippe Laurent, chairman of a multinational organization called the Syndicate.
Never heard of it.
Evidently not, or you would not have robbed our bank. Perhaps you wonder why you are still breathing at this point.
Actually, I wonder why my foot's not up your ass at this point.
Like it or not, Mr. Gat, our organization is expanding into Stillwater. I am offering you the chance to leverage your assets against your lives. Ladies?
You may continue to operate the Saint Soltor Media Group as you see fit, in exchange for 66% of your monthly gross revenue.
That is before taxes, of course. Listen, you French fuck.
Please. I am Belgian.
So make yourself a fucking waffle. We done here.
And I had so hoped to come to a rational business arrangement.
As we come to a disagreement, the Syndicate plans to end us all until Gat breaks out of his bonds, gives a few guys the beats, and allows for our escape. But in doing this, the pilot gets caught in the crossfire, and Johnny tries to handle the Syndicate alone. We, of course, don't want to leave our boy behind, but we have no say in the matter as we, alongside Shondi, look to get to the back of the plane to jump out and find land.
Johnny, you can't even drive stick. How you gonna fly a plane?
Details, details. Just cover the boss. Go. I got this.
Johnny, we're about to jump!
Right on. I'll see you in Still.
Johnny?
Johnny is dead, and Philippe Loren killed him. I'm very aware that Saints Row 4 retcons this, just act like the game didn't exist for this video, okay? I remember when this happened as a kid. I saw tons of YouTube videos theorizing about how Johnny might be alive somehow. I mean, so many folks, me included, thought this was the absolute worst thing Volition could have done to their own franchise, considering how much of a poster boy Johnny was for Saints Row. But it was ultimately out of Volition's hands. According to lead writer Steve Jarls himself, he stated that there was a version of Saints Row III where Johnny made it the whole way through, but THQ wanted more emotional weight in regards to Saints Row III, hence what we got.
Why did you kill Johnny?
Originally, he wasn't supposed to die. There's a version of the game where he lived the entire way through.
Yeah.
And then THQ said they wanted me to kill Johnny. People were like, we needed to have more emotional weight. Like, what if we kill Johnny Gat?
Now, I would have 100% been okay with Gat dying if the story followed through on being as shocking and dramatic as Saints Row 2. But it never really reaches that point. At all. You'll see more of what I mean later on. As Shaundi and the boss land in Steelport, we get everything taken away from us. Our income, our empire, Gat, everything. So we start from scratch and do the only logical thing any gang would do and get us some guns to retaliate. We get a driving tutorial, head to friendly fire, then we finally make our way to a military base for some hardware. We take down some military goons, but while we're there, we notice a gigantic bomb that could prove useful in the future.
Jeez, look at the size of that thing. Bet that's a hell of a way to end a gunfight.
Good thinking, Shaundi. We will take it with us.
Yeah, right. Wait, you're serious, aren't you?
So we gun down our troops, use some fun UAV-controlled missiles, snatch the bomb for ourselves, and Pierce picks us up for us to skedaddle on out of there. And after taking down some helicopters, we're officially thrusted into Steelport. And holy hell, Shaundi wasn't kidding. This place is a hellhole.
We need a new plan. First, where are we, Shaundi?
Steelport. It's kind of like Bangkok's abusive father.
Sounds nice. Have you been here before?
Spring break.
So how many guys? Never mind.
Everything in Steelport is boring. A huge step down from what was Stillwater in Saints Row 2. Outside of cribs and clothing shops, there's very few places of interest. Stunt jumps suck ass and barely work on motorcycles, the pedestrians are back to being one shitty backdrop instead of a breathing city, collectibles are garbage, there's no day and night cycle, it's just drab as hell. There's nothing to really admire outside of the early morning skybox and the graphics that have admittedly aged pretty gracefully. However, Steelport sucks, but apparently to Volition, it was so nice they made us play it twice. And speaking of playing in an open world, let's talk about activities. Since the Saints have hit rock bottom again, we must use our tried and true method of taking over a city through activities. Unfortunately, the activities in Saints Row III are garbano. In Saints Row 1 and 2, engaging in activities earned respect, which was crucial for progressing through the campaign since it was a resource. However, since those activities were for the most part enjoyable, players didn't mind the hindrance respect posed. But Saints Row III killed that dynamic by replacing respect as a resource and exchanging it for an experience system. Sure, it streamlined story progression by not making respect a requirement, but it killed activities because of that change. If there's no longer any reward from playing activities aside from respect and cash, you lose a good chunk of your game right then and there, especially for anyone coming in from the previous games. And the upgrade system ends up breaking the game even more, because now instead of coming across a reward for playing through an activity's levels, you now get to buy your own upgrades from a gigantic list. Sure, you'd have to level up to unlock better upgrades, but once you do, you can't change them back. So if you wanted to swap back from dual wield or depower yourself to take damage again, you can't do that unless you reload a save or use a save editor. This is a huge flaw in Saints Row III's game design, especially when it's something you as the player should have complete control over. But what about the activities themselves? Well, you have your long-standing series staples like Mayhem, Insurance Fraud, Snatch, Trafficking, and Escort, with Hitman and Chop Shop being tucked away in the Saints Book app. There are new variations on old activities like Tank Mayhem, Tiger Escort, Cyberblazing. Those are kind of whatever. There's some returning activities from Saints Row 2 like Trailblazing and Heli Assault, and finally some brand new activities like Professor Genki's Super Ethical Reality Climax and Guardian Angel. All these activities either don't translate well into the new engine or are just okay. Trafficking has ridiculous difficulty spikes in later stages. Insurance Fraud's Ragdoll was toned down heavily, making it less fun. Activity variations like Tiger Escort and Cyberblazing are weak compared to their originals, and any new activity pales in comparison to what we had in Saints Row 2. Like I mentioned prior, Fight Club could have 100% been in this game through Murder Brawl. And despite having some amazing car customization along with some cool vehicles, there's no racing. Are you fucking kidding me? Granted, it kinda doesn't work in the context of the campaign, because why would a criminal celebrity even remotely care about taking part in a race? But come on, you technically had a racing segment when rescuing Zemos, and in the Enter the Dominatrix DLC, you basically run that mission back again. Plus there's cyberblazing and trailblazing. It would have not been hard to re-implement racing in this game, if part of the mechanics were already there. So in short, activities kinda suck ass. But do you know what's worse than activities that are lackluster? Activities that you're forced to play in order to progress the main campaign as filler. Saints Row the Third has 47 missions in its main campaign. Minus 4 strongholds and 4 cutscenes, there's 39 left. The bulk of that 39 is 14. I repeat, 14 activity-related missions, reducing actual campaign missions down to 25. Dude. The nail in the coffin for activities is that if you've beaten the campaign, you've essentially played through all of what Saints Row the Third has to offer. Like, what you really gonna do post-game? Chop shop? Assassinations? Challenges? Collectibles? No. In short, Saints Row the Third ruined a staple of the series without any care as to why they were enjoyable and rewarding in the first place. And not only that, they butchered the new mechanics that are intended to work in tandem. So in short, to me, activities in Saints Row the Third suck. As Pierce walks us through our tutorial, we learn about car customization and clothing customization, until we're interrupted by more Syndicate alongside a new enemy type, Brutes. Brutes are basically big scary meatballs that want nothing but you dead. All 3 rival gangs have them at their disposal, and the Brutes can also come in different variations, either with a minigun or a flamethrower. They throw a major wrench into combat as they hunt you down relentlessly, and in order to defeat them, you gotta hit them with enough bullets to stagger them, then finally execute them with the QTE. As we and Pierce narrowly escape the Syndicate's ambush, we head back to Shaundi loft, knowing that we can't stay there for much longer, so we need to find a new place. This leads us into one of the highlight missions that's in Saints Row 3, with you diving out of a helicopter onto one of the Syndicate's penthouses to Kanye West's Power blaring in the background. You can't deny that this made everyone hype as a gamer. Plus it's one of the many great songs that Kanye has provided the world with, and I can't deny that. If you're willing to separate the art from the artist, this still makes for a great mission in Saints Row off of the strength of the song alone. So we dive down to the penthouse, snatch up a Syndicate grunt to tell us the code for the elevator, and we work our way down to the basement to invite our homies for this hostile takeover. Unfortunately for us though, we find out there's a bomb in the basement of the penthouse most likely planned in case of our arrival. So we chase an escaping Syndicate grunt in the helicopter, which gives us this great joke.
Shaundi, are you finished with the cleanup?
What do I look like, the damn maid?
You can if you like. I can get you a little frilly apron on my way back.
We're sitting on a bomb here and you're making jokes.
You don't want the apron?
Fun fact, someone actually went out of their way to mod a maid outfit onto Shaundi for Saints Row 4 just for the sake of referencing this joke, which is most likely lost media due to Saints Row 4 getting its upgrade to the re-elected version on PC, so that's a shame. We kill the remaining Syndicate, unlock our new HQ in the process, and show the Syndicate that we're no longer fucking around.
The Saints aren't going to back down.
Maddie, there's nothing to worry about.
My thoughts exactly, Mr. Kilbane. The Saints are no more than a white noise of empty threats.
With respect, sir. I'd say empty is no longer applicable.
Alright, so this next set of missions don't really add much to the story since they're activity based, so to sum up, we help Pierce with a bunch of shit like getting the deed to some deposit boxes through Guardian Angel, which is basically half rail shooter, half sniper section. It's lazily made. We do some trafficking where we protect the driver from some drug deals, learn how to buy property to develop passing income, and learn about Who the fuck is calling me right now? We also learn about gang operations. These are basically just diversions where you clear out a group of enemies and that's it. Kill all of them in the area and you win. We take part in some mayhem where you do a destruction, some super ethical reality climax, which is actually pretty fun, all things considered, and now we finally get to take it to the Syndicate. So I stated way back in the beginning of this video that I have major beef with how they treated Philippe Loren in this game, and the following is why. So we head to Syndicate Tower, eliminate some goons and brutes, and arm the bomb we stole from the military at the start of the game. We work our way up, come across more brutes in the cloning factory in which they spawn from, and come across the master pattern of all these clones, Oleg Kurlov, our new big homie. Since Philippe Loren knows we're onto him, he attempts to make an escape on the express elevator. So we hang on the end of a tuned mass damper, didn't even know the thing had a name, but Oleg gives us the assist by releasing the big ball so we can catch up to Loren. Only for the most promising villain of the franchise to get squished by the fucking thing, killing him. So you're telling me Volition hyped up and built a possibly great villain, only for him to get turned into tomato paste in the second hour of the game? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how do you fumble this hard? Loren could have been amazing. Alright, hear me out, because I'm about to rewrite this shit real quick. Everything in the opening of the game stays the same, even Johnny's death. Through this hypothetical game, you could have the old Saints and the new Saints band together to take out the rival gangs, starting with Kinsey helping you with Matt Miller, then taking out Killbane with Oleg and Angel, then take out the Winter Sisters with Shaundi and Zemos, and finally killing Philippe Loren for killing Johnny in an act of revenge. All the lighthearted funeral at the end of the game, Stag drops in to interrupt with a cliffhanger for Saints Row 4, and in that game the entire focus would have been on Stag and fleshing out Cyrus Temple, Kia, and Senator Hughes. Make Stag film the ending, boom, series over. The Saints own Stillwater and Steelport, and both are foreign soil governed by the Saints. But unfortunately, this is the game we got. So we're going to continue with the story we have. After the death of Loren, we get introduced to choices. One might think these would drastically change the narrative for more replayability, but these choices throughout the game, most of the time, don't mean shit. Especially with the first choice. We either let the building explode, which nets us a permanent respect bonus, or we keep the building for ourselves to net us a cash bonus. My question is, if we're able to choose to keep the building, why don't we get a crib out of it? You already have a modeled chunk of the interior for it, just make it purple and add some markers and you're set. That pissed me off for the longest ever since I was a kid. I was so fucking bummed to not get a crib out of it, you don't understand. Anyways, most choices really equate to, do you want this bonus or this bonus? Killbane's mask or his pocket fist weapon? Keep Burke as a homie or trade him for some decreased notoriety? Like, does any of this really matter given the upgrade system and the DLC? Guess not, cause Saints Row never did shit like this again. So we immediately cut to a shot of the Stillwater Memorial Bridge, where Senator Hughes is providing a speech in memory of her husband, former mayor of Stillwater, Richard Hughes, or the guy you barely remember from Saints Row 1 who blew up on the boat alongside you in the first game. And wait a minute, bitch, weren't you in that one Septic Avenger activity in Saints Row 2? How the hell you age backwards? Oh, well that makes sense. Anyways, since it's implied we held a funeral for Johnny already in Steelport, the Saints are taking their procession back home until Killbane and his luchadors attack the bridge with RPGs, trapping the Saints in Steelport until we deal with the remainder of the Syndicate. After we survive the crash into the water, we speak to Oleg, who knows of others who oppose the Syndicate. Those three being Angel de la Muerte, a former professional wrestler and tag team partner of Killbane's who betrayed him, Kinsey Kensington, a former FBI agent who got kicked out via blackmail from Matt Miller, leader of the Deckers, and Zemos, who was captured by the Morning Star for being the DeWinter Sisters' competition. After we rescue all three, we get the classic speech.
The Syndicate has to answer for what they did. And this time, we're taking the fight to them. Since we don't know Steelport, I brought in some people who do. This is Kenzie, Zemos, and Angel.
The barbarians are at the gate! We need a general, not an ambassador!
Calm down, Eddie.
What did you call me?
What would you like us to do, Killbane?
Something. Anything! Before I wonder why I keep you bookends around!
Talk to one of these guys. They'll have things for you to do. It's our time now. Let's get this shit started.
After way too many activities involving our new homies, we get notified by Shaundi that Pierce and Zemos are having a party at the HQ. After Shaundi storms out of the penthouse, we chill and relax with some strippers, only for in a turn of events for the strippers to, oh I'm sorry, let me correct myself, hooker assassins try to kill us at the function. Wait, where were they hiding those guns? After we basically crippled the entirety of technically legal staff, we cut over to the Syndicate where things are not quite going to plan.
Hooker assassins?
They came highly recommended.
Ladies, it was a pretty shit plan.
Tell me something, Matt. Did you have a plan? How about you, Eddie? There's a reason Philippe left the thinking to us. We're done here.
Killbane! Relax. You only need one of them. Viola, your sun is setting. But it's not too late. There's still time to grab Apollo's chariot and drive that fucker back across the sky. You feel me?
Yes, Killbane.
Apology accepted. Hey, I'll comp you a VIP faster murder brawl. That'll cheer you up.
Now before we continue with the story, we gotta talk about Killbane. Killbane is a shit villain, because he barely poses a proper threat towards the Saints. There's no Meryl-esque cutscene fight like in Saints Row 2, there's no extremely major setback that the Saints have to deal with via Killbane, he just sucks. Shit, there isn't even a proper boss fight with him, which pisses me off because he's regulated to a guy you simply do QTEs on. Killbane just highlights just how much better Loren could have been had he not died. The story is just a mess, but I'll save the rest of my thoughts for later. So after a good chunk of work with Zemos to help take down the Syndicate's prostitution operation, he wants us to meet with him in person for his plan. But before that, we hear something on the news about the Stag Initiative.
And while no group has taken credit for the attack in Stillwater, we have ignored its root cause. Our uncontrolled media and the good soul to our children have fetishized gang culture and turned sociopathic madmen into heroes. No more! Those responsible for this act of terror will be found and held accountable. The Stag Initiative marks a milestone in taking back the streets of America.
The hell is the Stag Initiative?
If it's free porn for everyone, I am down.
So what's the lead?
Oh, I got you hooked up, Slim.
Very discreet.
That's an invitation to kick the Morning Star right in their collective pussy. They having an auction tonight. Flash the card. You're in.
So what? I pretend to be an eccentric millionaire?
Kinda. I'm gonna auction you off as a sex slave.
Fuck that.
Oh, quit being a bitch and get in the van.
Now given the boss's history, they done crazy shit. There's no doubting that. But why you'd agree to be auctioned off as a sex slave is anyone's guess. But in the great words of Gandhi, fuck it, we ball. As we alongside Zemo steamroll through the Morning Star, destroying their operations, Killbane is now in a tailspin figuring out how to retaliate.
What the hell were you thinking, Maddie?
It just seemed like a waste to lose all those girls.
I am the general. I'm the Tsar. I'm the walking apocalypse. And I make the decisions, not you!
My bad, mate. So what happens now?
Ah, we buckle down! We focus. We don't do a run-in, we hit him with a Montreal screw drop. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Now listen up.
My esteemed colleagues, the time is now. We have deployed Stag to Steelport.
As the Stag Initiative gets announced for deployment on Steelport, we later get a call from Viola de Winter who wants payback for her sister's death at the hands of Killbane. So, Stag. I briefly gotta talk about how shoehorned into the narrative they are in, huh? Well, for starters, if you've played the previous game Saints Row 2, the military task force sent to kill us has been water we've already treaded. So Stag as a gang kinda falls flat on its face if you were expecting something unique for the third game. Plus, there isn't much story for them outside of being an additional quote-unquote gang we'd have to fight. Outside of Cyrus and Kia being extremely adamant about going to war with us, there's not much else to chew on. But I'll wrap back around to my thoughts on the gangs during the critique section of the video. As Stag attacks us alongside Viola and Oleg, we fight back for just enough of a window to escape technically legal and flee back to base. So now the Saints have an entirely new problem on their hands. As we now have our hands full with Stag, it's time we start to take the fight to them. We start by attacking one of Stag's bases to nab ourselves a VTOL, clearing out bases and assisting our convoy to move out of our HQ. We also take down a surveillance aircraft to further stick it to Stag. Oh hey, Josh Burke is back as a spokesman for Stag. Interesting. So in order for us to get the drop on Stag, we head to the PR center as Nightblade characters. We sucker punch Burke, fight our way out, and make it back to the HQ, only for Cyrus Temple to later ask for Burke back in exchange for territory. Regardless of your choice for keeping Burke or not, Stag fires on the HQ anyways. As we go back into hiding, we get a cutscene of Kia being tasked to capture Shaundi. But instead of immediately following up on that, we focus our attention back on the Syndicate, who further besmirch our name by faking a video of us dancing, with the backdrop being the Hughes Memorial Bridge during an undisclosed interview between Jane Valderrama and Killbane. As we go airborne to disclose the location of Killbane's interview, we hack a few transmitters, kill a boatload of Deckers, track the broadcast van to descramble the location, kill more Deckers, and find Jane Valderrama, who tells us that Killbane has escaped yet again. Thankfully, he's not out of our reach just yet as we catch up to him via helicopter. But things go awry as our helicopter controls get hijacked and hacked by Matt Miller. So now we shift our focus to the Deckers. In order to even begin taking them on, we head to Kinsey, who asks us to obtain a supercomputer owned by Stag, only to get hacked by Matt Miller and presumably have his cronies grab the computer first. So we head back to the PR center, kill Deckers and Stag alike, and obtain the supercomputer via a Stag tank. So we meet back with Kinsey again along with Oleg to grab a Nemo chair, so that the Deckers have to go horny mode on VR chat or whatever, I don't know. So we venture out with Kinsey to hack the planet, steal the Nemo chair, and get into the Decker usernet to confront Matt Miller directly in VR. In arguably one of the coolest missions of the entire game, we step into the Deckers virtual world, take down some Deckers with a Mega Man arm cannon, and deal with artificial lag, which I don't think I've ever seen a game do before, which is interesting. So after all of that, we confront Miller by facing his dragon form for a while, only for us to eventually become a dragon ourselves thanks to Kinsey. This mission is still as awesome as I remember it. So we defeat Matt Miller and get offered another choice in exchange for his life. We later cut to Matt Miller and Killbane in a conversation about Matt Miller's departure from the Syndicate. Alright, so we've basically destroyed 2/3 of the Syndicate, but instead of following back up with Killbane, we of course shift our focus back to Stag. So unfortunately, during this clip, I couldn't get the full conversation between Kia and the boss as she kidnaps Shaundi, but basically, Kia taunts us afterwards. She's like, we got your girl, come get her, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So we call Pierce to let him know what's going on. And we formulate one of the most bizarre plans for a mission ever. We meet up with Pierce and Viola at an image that's designed to impersonate Cyrus Temple, bringing us our new captives to the Thermopylae, a gigantic vessel owned by Stag. As we follow behind Kia, we get offered some new Stag tech to give us the edge, until we're interrupted by the real Cyrus Temple on the intercom, blowing our cover. Kia tries to get a few shots off, but fails, leading to our escape. We grab up Shaundi, Viola, and Pierce and make our mad dash off of the Thermopylae, blowing it up in the process.
This one's going in the book.
We might have overdone it.
Now we can focus on Killbane.
What about Stag?
We just blew up an aircraft carrier. What else could they throw at us?
It's now martial law. Stag essentially owns the streets so much so that they've even lifted all the bridges. So we're basically in the final stretch of the game. Does that mean we're gonna take out Stag then fight Killbane, or maybe the other way around? No, let's do this stupid zombie mission that has little to no bearing on the narrative as a whole, other than to further complicate things for no reason. I honestly do not care to go in depth with this mission. I'ma just keep it brief. We call Kinsey to see if there's anything we can combat Stag with, only to tell her to contact Viola to meet us at the airport. We cut back to us in the air again alongside Viola to invade a Stag transport plane and grab up some new gear for us to use, only for it to go horribly wrong, contaminating a section of Steelport with a zombie virus, which we later have to clean up per the order of Mayor Reynolds.
Burt fucking Reynolds?
Who else could keep this town running?
Yes, Mayor Burnt Reynolds. That Burt Reynolds. Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven is in this game. I hate this stretch of missions because it simply acts as a stopgap at the peak of the game's story. Like you could have had Killbane's storyline, then Stag's invasion, then three-way without even the thought of zombies, and nothing of value would have been lost. Nothing would have been changed. Honestly, this whole story kind of pisses me off because of the immense amount of potential that isn't capitalized on. It's most likely dependent on the order you play missions, but things a lot of the time feel out of order and lack a lot of proper focus. I've never expected a GTA 4 levels of storytelling from Saints Row. That just is not what I come to these games for. However, another Saints Row 2 style story with all of the elements of 3 would have been nice. And we never really get that shit. Aside from Johnny and the endings, there's nothing really here. There's no stakes. There's no real sense of gangs really getting the one up on the Saints. It just falls flat in my eyes. Alright, again, I'll save the remainder of my thoughts during the critique section of the review, but man, as I'm looking back on the footage of this game, this story could have been way better. So after our zombie problem, we finally set our sights back on Killbane. So to take it to Killbane, we first have to destroy his competition so we can compete in the annual murder brawl. And this mission, with the RC cars, had so much potential to be a brand new mayhem activity. So basically, you go around hacking cars, boats, and various other vehicles to then proceed to cause a destruction across Steelport, crashing into pedestrians, cars, etc. This mission is severely underrated because it's so unique and brief in Saints Row III. So much so that I really think Volition could have had something here with the RC gun being an activity. Just fit it in the context of mayhem and add a time limit. But anyways, we take out the competition, leaving us open to fight Killbane at Murder Brawl. But before we do that, we assist Angel, yeah remember him, into getting his mask back to face Killbane alongside us. So we proceed to do a destruction and kill everyone in the casino until Angel de la Muerte is reborn! So we head to the Murder Brawl event to face Killbane, and I gotta say, this is no doubt a very fun mission. It was fun when I first played it, and is just as fun when I play it now. I just wish they implemented Fight Club in the third because they totally could have done that. It was right there. Anyways, we take care of Killbane's goons on the outside as Angel does his thing. Then he gets powerbombed out of the ring, which breaks his leg. So we defend Angel some more, then enter the ring ourselves to fight Killbane. And despite it being a QTE fest, I still popped hard, not only as a pro wrestling fan, but as a Saints Row and video game fan. If the story were more linear, I think snapping Killbane's neck at Murder Brawl would have been a great capping off of the story with the Syndicate, and we'd refocus back to Stag. But unfortunately, that isn't what happens. Alright, so we're finally at the end of the base game with the mission 3-way, which has the Luchadors and Stag have an all-out war across Steelport. For us to essentially stop the fighting, we take out Luchadors and Stag soldiers alike and come to our final choice of the game. Saints Row III has two endings, Gangsters in Space, which ended up being the canonical ending going into Saints Row 4, and Stag Film, an ending that I felt fit more in line with the previous games and ended Saints Row III on a bitter but understandable note. I'll break down both, but let's start with the canonical ending of Gangsters in Space. Prior to our choice, we receive a call from Angel regarding Killbane leaving Steelport by plane. A neat callback to the first game where Angelo tried to do the same. Immediately after our call from Angel, we get a call from Kia, who intends on framing the Saints for domestic terrorism by blowing up the Magarak statue with Burt Reynolds, Shondi, and Viola tied up. Though not in the footage since I muted the music, everyone who's played the game with music turned on knows that Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler blares as you make your final decision, which for most people who've played the previous games would have that song tilt them in the direction of saving Shondi. After we make it to the Magarak Island and work our way up to the statue, we use the sonic boom we got from Stag's airplane earlier to push the bombs into the water below. As we climb, we rescue our fellow Saints, kill some more Stag soldiers, and ultimately meet up with Kia. So for whatever reason, Volition wanted to rehash the veteran child boss fight from the second game, but destroy any and all suspense by having us throw a fart in a jar instead of frags or any other grenade, which makes me take this segment unseriously. So we separate Kia and Shondi and kill Kia. I just realized something. Kia. K-I-A. killed in action. I don't know if that was the intention, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. That's clever. So after we save the Saints and the Magarak statue by proxy, Senator Hughes spins to the media that the Saints are heroes. So what about Killbane? Well, we find out in this ending that he traveled to Mars. But something isn't right. How's Johnny alive? Well, about that. The more you progress through this section, things like the hokey acting, music cues, and the fact that the game hinted at the Gangsters in Space movie the whole game, you come to the conclusion that yeah, this is a film, so it's fake. As you trek through Mars killing space thugs, we have a proper boss fight with Killbane, which results in us stabbing Killbane in the chest with a gigantic chunk of space rock, which gives us a cutscene that parodies another of Volition's titles, Red Faction Guerrilla.
I came to Mars to make a living. Keep my head down. Stay out of trouble. But I found something. But I found something. That... Damn it. Line!
Cut!
Wow. This ending fucking sucks. Unless you've been a longtime fan of Volition's games as a whole, there's no satisfaction you get from this ending. As a kid, I was so confused on why this ending even existed, since I didn't know a thing about Red Faction. I've expressed my disdain for this ending in my Stag Film is the True Ending video. It's a quick watch if you want more of my thoughts, but this ending is doo-doo. But what about Stag Film? Well, if you were to choose that ending, it kind of falls flat also. Allow me to explain. So we head down to the airport, but on our way we have to defend Angel from getting himself killed, then escort him to the airport, fire rockets at Killbane's plane, and then kill him with a quick QTE. We get a shot of Magarak Island blowing up, killing Shondi, Bert, Viola, and plenty of unnamed saints, which frames us for domestic terrorism. A lot of people would consider this the bad ending because revenge is bad, but the reason this falls apart so hard is because Killbane is just such a shit villain, especially compared to the previous gangs in Saints Row 2 and 1. At least in those games, some characters like Marrow, Junichi, Mr. Sharp get over on the Saints killing a member in the process. But Killbane is a total goofball that does nothing to truly harm the Saints outside of the bridge attack. There's no Marrow-like scene where you go through the roof of a building and damn near die. There's no nail-biting moment in this story where you say, oh shit, or wince at somebody getting their comeuppance. There's nothing here. There's nothing with this character that I care for because the person that could have been an engaging villain died in the first fucking hour. This bleeds over into my main complaint with Saints Row the Third. It just didn't do enough when it totally could have. After killing Killbane, we head over to the Broken Shillelagh one last time to celebrate the lives of those we've lost during the fall of Magarak Island. As we beeline to the crib, we grab a helicopter to make our way to the Daedalus, the gigantic airship Cyrus Temple has been campaigning to use throughout the game. We take out its cannons, plant a few bombs, aboard its ship, then we have our final confrontation with Cyrus Temple, and send him off to hell in a knockout ending for this story. This feels like the ending to a trilogy of games. Whatever the fuck the parody of Red Faction was does not feel like the conclusive end to Saints Row 3. It just confirms that the Saints indeed are sellouts who traded their dicks in for pussies. Plus, that theme of the Saints being sellouts doesn't even get brought up much, if at all, throughout the story. If the whole idea of the narrative was posing the question of whether or not the Saints are sellouts, Saints Row the Third did not do a good job at leaning in on it. Throughout the first act of the game, the boss was very adamant about not being corporate whores anymore, and was very against the whole celebrity thing since Johnny died. Outside of the Stag Film ending where Killbane says this,
"You were a fucking clown, selling energy drinks and lunchboxes. You didn't care about the crowd, just a paycheck. And I changed that."
Aside from all that and Johnny asking if it's all about the money in the first mission, there's nothing that really leads on that throughout the entire campaign. In fact, the opposite is reinforced. Saints Row the Third isn't called Saints Row 3, unlike the sequel being numbered. The title sold out. The boss sells out. The Saints sell out. So if you're possibly invested in the prospect of a story that gives a critical lens to the Saints as a whole, the Saints just end up smiling back, acting like nothing was wrong. So if their story wasn't great, what about the rest of the game? Well, like I stated, if you're coming from Saints Row 2, you're gonna be disappointed. Entertained maybe, but ultimately disappointed. The lack of features alone would turn away most veterans. No proper online killed that scene for Saints Row fans, and what's there is kinda lackluster. The activities are stale and most times boring, the open world is ass and has nothing to do in it. Ultimately, nothing really matters. And I hear some of you now, oh, you're just a hater, Sleep Gang, you like the old Saints Row games. Really? What gave it the fuck away? Like, what? Like, come on, bruh. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say there wasn't anything good about this game, because there was. Saints Row the Third has got to have some of the most outlandish set pieces I've ever played in a game before. If Saints Row were like the Fast and Furious films, Saints Row 1 and 2 were like Fast 1 all the way through Tokyo Drift, whereas the 3rd, 4th, and Gat Outta Hell are Fast 4 through 10. Fun, but absolutely ridiculous. Also, driving is honestly the best in the series next to Saints Row 4. I know, the irony isn't lost on me. It feels slick and still controls very well. The only thing that fucked it up for me was stunt jumps, because they most of the time don't work because of collision detection. The art design of the 3rd onwards is the definitive Saints Row style for me. Maybe it's because we've had more Saints Row games in this style than others, but to me, the characters, locations, overall vibe is just great. Kinda wish we got remakes or remasters of the first 2 games with this style. I mean, maybe someone can come mod these new models into Saints Row 1 on Xenia or something, I don't know. But yeah, despite all of that, yeah, I kinda ran out of my niceties here. So let's talk about the DLC. Alright, before we get into the awful DLC campaigns, we gotta talk about cosmetics. The cosmetic DLC for this game is absolutely foul, because there's so much shit from cosmetics that could have just been in the base game. Rival gang clothing should have 100% been something you unlock alongside gang vehicles in this game. Z-Pack for completing all levels of Snatch, cheats being sold to gamers is just detestable, and so is the unlockable pack. Most of these, aside from the unrelated cosmetic packs, are kinda ass. As for the DLC campaigns themselves, Genki Bowl wins by default. So the Genki Bowl DLC starts with us receiving a call from host Tammy Tolliver selecting us for Genki Bowl 7. Zach and Rob Van Dam give us the rundown, then we start our game with Apocalypse Genki. And this shit is so fun. I kinda wish we had more Genki in Saints Row the Third, but that's just me. Any more excuses to be as outrageous as I can be in this context, I'm all for. After this, we escort Genki around town and cause mayhem and madness in this new variant of escort. We run over people, set them on fire, it's great. Then we enter Sexy Kitten's Yarngasm, which is mayhem in a big ball of yarn. Super fun. Then it's more of the same until we get to Sad Panda's Sky Blazing, which requires us to make enough money by skydiving through rings and killing more mascots. And again, it's very fun. We get our little ending cutscene and that's it. Good DLC, very fun, sugoi. We obtain some vehicles and outfits based off of the Genki girls, and yeah, that's about it. The only reason Gangsters in Space is in second place is because it's tame. It's the most average of the 3 DLC packs, and bonus, it doesn't go out of its way to disrespect the character. You know who I'm talking about. Gangsters in Space begins with a phone call from director Andy Zen, who's shooting the Gangsters in Space movie, not to be confused with the Gangsters in Space ending from the base game. Maybe they had reshoots, I don't fucking know. Basically, Andy is being a dick to our co-lead Jenny throughout the entire game's DLC, putting the boss on a pedestal because name recognition sells more than talent in the world of Hollywood, baby. In our first mission, we shoot our scene by arriving at the military base to rescue Quilana, aka Jenny. Since Andy ain't feeling it, we run through the same scene a few times until Andy declares our wood plank acting to be acceptable, shitting on Jenny, who's been doing a great job. Our next mission is an on-rails shooter section from the back of a bulldog, firing at any resistance from the military until we're interrupted by aliens who chase after us as well. Saints Row, for whatever reason as a franchise, has horrible game balancing for certain missions, and this is one of them. You lose so much health before even getting past the second section of the on-rails shooter, it's impossible. So if you're ever playing a Saints Row game, lower the difficulty from time to time if things get hard. Hardcore is not the be-all, end-all difficulty for Saints Row games, especially when things get unfair. We continue with our adventure by shooting a new scene where we destroy generators. Woohoo. This has got to be the most boring Saints Row mission I've ever played. You just go from location to location, console to console, until you destroy them and access the ships for the final act. The final mission consists of destroying shields, doing tricks, and killing more goons as Andy becomes more enraged with the film. And Jenny continuously gets her buttons pushed to the point of killing him. But it's okay, because Andy was putting his staff in real danger and was putting his crew in the line of actual fire, so he's a scumbag. This DLC just sucks, really just because of how boring it is. It doesn't expand the main campaign's story, it's just nonsensical for the sake of it. But at least it's not Trouble with Clones. Trouble with Clones has got to be the most horrendous and disrespectful Saints Row DLC I have ever played. Like, I honestly would rather play through all the LARP related stuff in the reboot, including the DLC. I'll take that over this shit. So we get a call from our biggest fan, Jimmy Torbenson from Robot Chicken, who tells us to meet him at Smiling Jack's, and
the heavens wept as I defiled Mother Nature.
Johnny, we're about to jump!
Right on. I'll see you at
Johnny?
They failed you, Johnny, but I never will. I'm your #1 fan. For months, I've been collecting shit. Hair shit. Sunglasses. Old chewed up gum. A greasy comb. I thought I had had enough things that he touched. I was wrong.
Johnny?
Aisha. Hold up. You cloned Gat?
ugh. So basically, Gat was cloned and made to be a brute. But unfortunately, Johnny Tag's most recent memory was trying to get revenge on Shogo Okuji from the second game for ordering the hit on Aisha. So we go from place to place trying to catch up to him, only to continuously fail. But Jimmy comes up with another plan. So it's Saints Appreciation Day apparently, and in order to draw out and reason with Tag is with a mobile stage car, and Pierce cross-dressing as Aisha. I'm not joking. So we head over to Planet Saints, where we do a little crowd control, only to come across Tag fighting the Steelport guard. In an attempt to calm down Tag, Jimmy brings out a brute version of Aisha. Again, I'm not fucking joking. Only for her to get killed again. So Jimmy calls us over back to his home, only for Tag to ambush us. While we're out, we're given superpowers through an altered version of Saints Flow, which I'll admit was cool. However, it does feel like Volition was priming us up for Saints Row 4 with these DLCs. I mean, think about it. Aliens, clones, superpowers. I mean, if we as a community at the time were thinking this was cool, there was no doubt in Volition's mind we'd like Saints Row 4. Anyways, back to the DLC. We use our super abilities to take down more of Steelport's guard alongside the Morningstar until we eventually save Pierce and talk to Tag to basically finish off the DLC. Okay. So hopefully throughout this, you're understanding where I'm coming from with how disrespectful this DLC is to multiple characters. Sure, it was just for the sake of fun and for players to enjoy, I understand that, but at least do it with some respect for your characters. Zombie Gat after beating the main campaign was already salt in the wound enough. Tacking on a clone on top is just too far. Listen, as a Saints Row fan, I can take Dex's diversion and Gat out of hell. I can take Shaundi repeatedly getting kidnapped, getting recycled for a gag. I can take all the bullshit that is the reboot, but the absolute disrespect towards your own source material with this, to me, is too far. Like, how do you drag your poster boy through so much mud over the course of this series? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, for those saying, it ain't that deep, Sleep Gang, I get that too, because I know I shouldn't be wrapped up in this fictional character's direction, but damn, man. In conclusion, Saints Row the Third is a poorly written, watered down experience which only made so much money because it had a great game prior. And it filled the time gap between GTA 4 and GTA 5. Tell me I'm fucking lying. However, that's not to say that there wasn't fun to be had in Saints Row the Third. There were a few glimmers of a very fun game here. Various missions were a great time, co-op from what I remember was fun as hell as a kid, and some of the activities and DLC cosmetics were worth playing and using. But all in all, Saints Row the Third is a fun but heavily flawed experience. Is it worth playing? Sure, like, I guess, but like Saints Row 1, it just makes me want to play the game before this and the game after this. And that's all I have to say. All right, I'm going to have to shill and be that YouTube type guy. So, hey, look, man, if you like what I do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified of every single review, because I upload these like once every couple of months. But I do plan on bringing in more content with starting a new series, but I don't know. I'm a little iffy on it. I don't know if I'm going to commit to it, but yeah. Road to 3K. I'm going to open up the Discord at 3K subscribers. So, sub on up. We're like 50 away. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for providing your support. Thank you for listening to me shit talk on this game this whole time. And thank you for enjoying what I do. I've been your host, Sleep Gang, and sleep tight.